Coming to the stage, this gentleman I've known for many months. He's a dear friend. Please put your hands together. You know him from his numerous television appearances and film, Mr. John Lovitz.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to the club tonight. We're being broadcast live on Ustream, and so for those of you watching this show on the internet, I wish you were here. There's about 3,000 people packed into the club tonight. Anyway, thank you for coming, all of you, and I hope the food's good. Anyway, later on in the audience, if you have questions for our guest, you can ask them. We'll be doing that later. Anyway, coming to the stage now is my special guest. This guy does everything. He's an actor, writer, producer, musician, and he has a podcast called The Nerdist. It's one of the top podcasts in the top 5 always on iTunes. Please welcome Chris Hardwick.
Thank you, John Lovitz.
Oh, you brought your backpack.
I did. I feel weird when it's not a couple feet from me. This backpack
You
is...
could have left it in the dressing room. My dog's in there.
then it'll be all the way up there. It's not near me.
Somebody's going to steal it?
My purse. My man purse. It really is.
Well, what's in there that you need during an interview?
Comedy notebook. You never know. You never know. Comedy notebook. Electronics. I figured out my backpack is like a... there's a lot of technology and then a lot of Advil and Pepto and all these things because I travel.
Did somebody steal it one time? And
No, they fucking didn't because it's always right at my feet. That's why I'm able to protect it. My backpack is essentially like a Best Buy with a medicine cabinet in it, and so I always have to keep it nearby.
So during the interview you get nauseated, you've got the
I'm covered.
Pepto-Bismol handy.
Yeah, exactly. Or if I feel a cold coming on, I've got zinc tablets right here. Zinc tablets I could take. Zinc tablets if I needed to. Got the Pepto right here. Got the Advil. So if anyone's not feeling well at all at any points, I'll just come on stage.
Well, I'll go with this. What's in the other pocket?
This is melatonin, which I take to sleep on planes. These are really good because they're dissolvable and they taste like chocolate mint. This is an extra set of headphones because, the ones in my back pocket might give out.
On the tennis channel, they have a thing, they go, what's in your tennis bag? That's what this feels like.
Wouldn't someone go, a fucking racket?
What's in your third bag?
There's nothing in this one. There's nothing in that one.
Nothing.
And then just a bunch of cables and cord splitters and, that sort of stuff. Yeah, hand sanitizer, a lot of time in airports. So that's about it.
Well, we have a green room upstairs in the club, and the only thing in that green room right now is my little dog.
Well, what if
Did he say something like, I'm going to rip you off while you're on stage?
Well, your dog is wearing a raincoat, and he might stuff shit from my bag in the raincoat. I wouldn't know that otherwise. Jerry's a very smart dog. I met him the other day.
My dog is very smart.
He is very smart.
My dog has his own podcast.
He does?
Yes.
That's fantastic. What's the name of this podcast?
Jerry's Podcast.
Okay, good. Got it. And what, does he speak English or is it dog talk?
No, he has animals on.
He's always other animals, so he's multilingual.
Well, he's a dog. He talks to other dogs.
Well, I didn't know he could speak to other animals. I would assume like he could talk to other dogs. But...
Well, other dogs that can talk.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's great. How's the show doing?
It's better than this one. Because, people are they're just dumbfounded and they think it's all, CGI and computer animated. No, they look, isn't that funny? Isn't that cute? He made his dog talk and, it doesn't matter how many times I say, no, he's actually talking. They don't believe me.
At the end of every podcast, when he's kind of finished the business, does he do this? Does he do the...
He does do that after he pees.
Like, so you just have to scrape. I laugh so much at dogs when they do it on concrete. I'm like, you're fucking dumb. There's no dirt there. You're not covering anything up.
But, I never got that because cats cover stuff up. I don't know why dogs...
Cats have to cover it up.
He'll pee on the grass and then he'll do that. I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was like proud, like, look at me.
No, they're trying to cover it up. That's just their little instinct held over, but they don't know. Dogs don't know what
By the way,
conflict
how
is.
long have you been doing your podcast, The Nerdist?
Almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in February, I think.
And what gave you the idea to start doing it in the first place?
I'd wanted to do it for a long time, and then I kept not doing it because I had a radio background, and I thought, oh, it's got to be like a produced show, and who's going to produce it, and I don't know what the segments would be. And then a bunch of my friends like Marin and Jimmy Pardo and Doug Benson and Corolla and guys like that were doing them, and then I was like, oh yeah,
All stand-ups.
all stand-ups, and then except for Adam, and then I said, oh, I could just talk to people like they were human beings, and so that's what it was. I was up for a job that I thought I was going to get, that I thought was going to change my life. It was one of these like life-changing jobs, and then I didn't get it at the last minute. Oh, in retrospect, it was really good that I didn't do this. It was just some show on E, but it was going to be a daily show, and and people like Joel McHale and Chelsea had real success finding, because for me it's all about like, are people going to come out to see live shows, and in order to do that you have to be out in the open so that people decide if they could come see you or not. And so I really thought this was going to do that, and at the last minute the show didn't go, and I got so mad. I was like, God damn this business. So I started a podcast because I'm like, I'm going to just do something that I can control, and fuck you, entertainment business. And it turned out great. So so fuck you, entertainment business.
Yeah, Mark Maron, he's got one of the top podcasts now.
Yeah, his is great.
And he
Yeah,
kind of
Mark's great.
started his the same way. I think he had some pilot or TV show, and it didn't go. And he was like, Mark Maron's been a stand-up, well, all the stand-ups know him for like 20 years or more.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
But his career never got big, but he would play the clubs, but he never got really a household name. And this almost the same thing. Some TV show, some didn't, or went or it didn't go, and then he just said, well, what am I going to do now? So then he just started doing a podcast from his garage.
Well, you have to as a stand-up, like in the
From his
old
garage, and then it got huge.
and he still does it in his garage, which is great. Which means that literally anyone could just, I mean, like you guys, if you have an idea, you can just do it. But in the '80s, a long time ago, comics would get exposed by doing the million stand-up shows that were on television, and then when those went away, podcasts are really just sort of like a comic survival mechanism of like, oh, I just need a way to get my voice into the world, and so because television, doesn't really have a lot of stand-up shows anymore.
But there's, you go on iTunes, there's thousands of podcasts in every category.
Yeah.
Art, history, architecture, literature, medicine, and then comedy, and there's tons of them.
Yeah.
Thousands. But now Mark Maron is one of the top ones, and I read reviews of Mark Maron, and they go, he does it in his garage, and then they say he's known for getting people to, and well-known people, to admit to things that they've never admitted to before in their lives.
Right.
Very private things.
Yeah.
And it's become, they say that's why they think it's so popular. What is it about your podcast that you think has made it so popular? Because it's usually number one or number two.
I don't know.
It's a huge achievement.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Mark's really good. I mean, Mark's an incredibly smart guy, and he's also he's been through a lot, and he's had a lot of therapy, and so he just knows. He just gets right to the meat of whatever he thinks is going on, and he does draw people out, and
So he acts like he's a psychiatrist?
there is a little bit, but it's a psychiatrist. Imagine having a psychiatrist that when you talk about yourself, then they start telling you their problems. So it's like a two-way, but that makes it like a really compelling conversation. And for us, I think I'm just a big fan of things, and so we're super positive and enthusiastic on our show, and we're super upbeat. We actually get a lot of shit for being. I get a lot of shit for being so
Positive?
so positive and enthusiastic all the time, because people
Why?
are like, well, because I think people read it as inauthentic, or they go, well, that's not real. Conflict drives, and I'm like, fuck off. There's your conflict, because I just sort of feel like, you probably know this too, but I've done so many I've been on the other side of so many bad interviews in my career. Of like,
Right.
you go do stand up in a town, and you do like local radio, and they don't give a shit who you are or why you're there, and they try to be really Barbie with you, like they take shots about jokes that you're not in on, and it's just never a pleasant experience. And so I always want people to leave our show feeling good. And so, you can talk about any object you look at, you could say 10 positive things and 10 negative things. So I just decided, I want our show to be happy and upbeat, and I want people to feel good. And sometimes it gets serious, but it's just not my thing to focus on conflict. And so for people who need that, I just say, it's a free podcast. You don't have to listen to ours. You can listen to Mark's. So that's
I think
all.
they're jealous mostly because it's so popular.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. No, I think...
It's true.
No, stop it, Gene Pompa. But what I do think is interesting is that I think that you could listen to the same guest on our show and the same guest on Mark's show and get two totally different experiences. So, that's why...
Mark's, by the way, I don't think his isn't negative or conflict. I think I asked him the same question, or I read it. I don't remember. I know him, but he says, I don't... Oh, I did ask him. I said, why is it people reveal stuff to you? He goes, I don't know. I'm just talking to them, and they just start saying stuff.
Well,
maybe because it's in his garage, or...
Well, it's just...
Then they just feel like, oh, this doesn't count.
They're in a garage, so they're like, fuck, he might kill me in here. I better...
Well, no, the famous one was Todd Glass, who's a great stand-up, great guy. And I guess he went on Mark's podcast.
He came out on Mark's show.
Yeah, and he said he was... On your show?
No, he came out on Mark's show.
On Mark's and said he was gay.
Yeah.
And I was like, Todd's gay? And I'm like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
No, when I was in college in 18, I had to do a scene with a guy, Jerry Littleton. It was just in a Afghan, an Afghan, not a muumuu, and his nails done up and eye makeup, and eyeliner, and he's just the guy was, they had to call the fire department to put him out. The guy was just flaming, and I was really nervous, and I thought, you're gonna try something? I asked him, and he was like, what? No, you're ridiculous, And then a month later, I'm like, oh, it's Jerry. He's just funny, And show business, I remember 2 years later, some guy said to me, well, John, half the drama department's gay. I'm like, they are? Yeah, your main teacher, he's gay. He is. He goes, I am. You are? I didn't know. And after a while, it just doesn't mean anything. I don't give a shit. Somebody's nice and funny. And with Todd, it was
I had wondered why I had been sucking all of your dicks all these months.
I beg your pardon?
I love Todd. Todd Glass is one of my favorite people, and it's funny, he came out on Mark's podcast, and he actually was he was like, I'm sorry, I really just felt more comfortable. I'm like, Todd, you can come out however you want. It was such an important thing that he did.
He apologized to you for not saying it on your show?
Todd is such the sweetest guy in the world, and, I think he felt, because he does a podcast on our network. Oh. And I was like, Todd, come out however you want. It's your life. And I think it was a really awesome thing that he did because he had been private about it for so long, and he came out in his late 40s because he kind of realized
Well, private about it his whole life.
He'd been private about it his whole life, but he finally was like, you know what? I really feel like he didn't want anyone else to feel that they couldn't be comfortable with who they were publicly, and so that's why he came out, to try to help set an example and let other people know, hey, you're okay. It's good. And so I love the shit out of Todd. Have you ever had him on the podcast? He's the best.
No, he's gay.
Oh, come on.
I'm kidding.
Lovitz!
It's a joke. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Hello. Yes, glad. It was a joke. Get a sense of humor. Click.
Could you please put your hand on vibrate?
I met him a lot. He's a great guy. He's very funny. I actually felt bad. All I thought was I felt bad that for him as a person, that the stress of keeping something like that a secret and worrying about it is, it's a lot of stress.
Well, it is, and he's...
And what are people going to think, and then...
And whatever...
But in showbiz, everyone's like, yeah.
And I think what Todd found is that what everyone thought was great, you should be happy. He was so... Because he came on our podcast after, and he seemed like he was just in such great spirits, and he felt... It was almost like this huge weight had been lifted. So, if you get a chance...
What do you think lately? You heard about that guy everyone's talking on the news. It's about the guy in the Duck Dynasty show.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear about that? And then did you hear about that?
There was something on Reddit that
No?
was really funny. That basically was a picture of him. It was like, big shocker, the redneck doesn't approve of gay marriage. You know, like so it was. I don't. When you look at that, you're like, yeah, that seems about right. That's what those people do. Anyone who looks like ZZ Top, that's a good bet that that's where they land. But you know, and I just don't fucking watch Duck Dynasty. I already kind of didn't like that guy because I was over at someone's house and it was on. I say that so you know that I was not watching it of my own volition. And it was that same guy, and he was like, I don't want my nephew to be a nerd. And I was like, all right, fuck you already. Like that was the first time you lost me. I think I put that on Vine or something of just that little soundbite. So he lost me a long time ago.
Well, I haven't seen Duck Dynasty. I've seen little snippets of it, and it seems like it's just they go, let's find the guys from the backwoods guys from the movie Deliverance that raped Ned Beatty and give them a show.
Yeah, but imagine
and then
if
they're against it.
Imagine
you go,
if-
yeah, but your cousins and the Deliverance weren't against it.
But imagine if the Deliverance guys were millionaires. Like that's Duck Dynasty. Like they're millionaires.
I don't know. They get it's a $200,000 a show, and they split it amongst 9 of them.
But they have a duck call business, which I guess is very lucrative. Because
Oh, that's why it's called Duck. I've never seen it.
yeah they.
I don't know. I thought they were like duck and gays, and then they're ducking something.
They make duck calls to communicate with ducks.
The funny thing is, everything that he said, if he said it on a comedy stage, he goes, I'm joking. It's a joke.
Yeah, I don't think he's kidding.
Well, he was comparing gays. They go, what's a sin? He goes, well, homosexuality, and then next comes bestiality and all this other. So they're upset about that. And then he said, I get why people are upset. But then he said, he goes, before, he's talking about African Americans. He goes, before entitlements and before this and that. He goes, and they were happy. They weren't singing the blues.
Jesus
And
Christ.
it's just like, what are you talking about? Like they were happy, they were slaves, and they were like, yepity yee.
Jesus
Well,
Christ.
but you hear him say something like that, and then people go, he's a fucking idiot. I mean, what do you care? He's just stupid.
Sounds like a dick dynasty. That's why I don't watch that.
But how
that's
can
when
you
I watch
take something like that? A guy says something like that. How can you take him seriously?
Well, you
know what
can't.
I mean?
You can't take him serious. I mean, I don't think.
You can't give any weight to what he
I don't
says.
think most people would take it seriously, but I think the thing that's upsetting is that there's a chunk of people in the middle of the country that are like, yeah, right on, preach on, brother, and you're like, fuck, man, don't be a fucking sentinel for the douchebags. So it doesn't help when someone, because like 12 million people
are
watch
saying,
that show.
But they're going, he's got freedom of speech.
Yeah, he can say whatever he wants, and I can say that he's a piece of shit for saying that. That's my freedom of speech, and I can not watch the show. But like 12 million people watch that show, so look, I mean, he's entitled. The guy's entitled to his opinion.
No, more. 14. It's got a 14,
14
rating. Yeah, but a 14 rating, that's like a 14 million households. And
Right.
There's at least 2 people usually watching TV.
I mean, he
Close
can
to
say,
30 million.
of course he can say whatever he wants, and I'm not trying to stifle what the guy's saying, but I just think anytime you're preaching intolerance, it's just like, I don't know, just they do have kind of a social responsibility because so many people watch that show, and it's a bummer.
Well, it was in an interview in a magazine.
Oh, okay.
And they're saying that that's his religious belief.
Ah, sure. They love to use that one. Someone should just pin him down and cut off his beard and be like, "Where's your fucking power now, Samson?"
Did you ever say did you ever say anything on your podcast and it got you into trouble or?
Not really,
people
because
called-
I'm not really a controversial person, and I'm a pretty like I want everyone to feel good. Like I hate it when people get bummed out. I mean, every once in a while you'll make.
I mean, you do a joke in your act and you do it in your podcast and you get.
But I think even in my act, even if I do make fun of something, I think people know that I'm not I kind of have this, hey, we're all in this craziness together and we all do stupid things, not like, I'm better than you and you're fucking dumb and those guys. And I think a lot of times when it comes to who you're making fun of, it's like, we had Mel Brooks on the podcast and a lot, he had made this point that comedy was about like subverting the people in power. And so when you're kicking someone who's not in power, then it's bullying. So,
Right.
I think that's sort of the distinction. But if I do make fun of someone or something in my act, it's not, because I talk a lot with the crowd. Like 40% of what I do is just talking to people in the audience.
Wow.
And I'll play around, but I don't think anyone is like, that Hardwick's serious and he's a real douchebag. I think everyone knows, like, my energy is pretty much that I generally like everyone and that it's friendly and we're all, it's all silliness.
Well, I don't know many people know this, and sadly, your father passed away about a month ago.
He did?
Oh shit!
I didn't
want to be the one to tell you.
You would think someone would have told me. This is really awkward, John.
No, he passed on.
Oh, where'd he go?
Probably.
I'm gonna make you break. I'm gonna make you break the news to me. Where'd he go? Is he come? Where is he, like, on
he
a
went
trip?
to heaven.
But is that a city? How'd he get there? Can I go there? Is he gonna come back?
After you die.
What?
But
yes.
his father is a famous. Billy Hardwick is a profession, not just a professional bowler, but in the Hall of Fame.
He was, yeah.
And he
was
won
Still is.
he won, like, it was like if you were a golfer or tennis, you win all the Grand Slams. His dad won all 3, so he's like what do you call it? The triple
crown. Yeah, he won the first triple
so
crown.
He's one of the
bowling.
best bowlers ever in the history of
he was.
bowling. And my mom used to take me bowling when I was like 8, and I had to hold the ball with 2 hands, but I loved it. And the bowling alley, especially when you're a kid, it's very exciting. The noise and there's a lot of action and energy. But did you want to be a bowler like your dad? Because most kids go, I want to be like my dad, right?
Yeah, I did up until I was about 13. I bowled every day from the time I was 3 until 13, and I was really good. But which
what was
I
your
don't
high score?
Consider a brag. 289. I shot 289 when I was 11.
When you were 11?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
fucking good, John. I was fucking good. And then,
I'll say, yeah.
yes. And
When you were 11?
when I was 11.
That's unbelievable.
I know. I should have
That's like
gotten
every
so
strike-
laid for that, but I was 11.
So you had, 11 strikes and 1 spare?
10 strikes and a 10 pin and then a spare. So so then my parents split up. My mom remarried. We moved away, and then my dad owns a bowling center, and then I wasn't in the bowling center every day. And then right around 13 is where you start rejecting everything from before you were 13. So I was like, I don't need bowling. And then and I was always obsessed with comedy, and my obsession spheres were stand-up. I'd been listening to stand-up albums since I was a tiny.
Who were the comics that you liked? Like, I liked Woody Allen and Lenny Bruce. I would listen to their albums.
Yeah, I was,
did you like?
I was listening to comedy albums in the 70s and 80s. So it was, it was Steve Martin and Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby and then in the 80s it was, it was a glorious time to be a young comedy geek because like I said, every channel had like 2 or 3, Evening at the Improv or Caroline's or Cinemax Comedy Experiment or Rodney Dangerfield. And so I watched everyone. I tended to, I loved guys like Kinison, and I also loved guys like Seinfeld. I liked guys like Dennis Wolfberg. I really liked a lot. Was a comic that I liked.
Yeah, very funny, Dennis.
Very funny guy. And Emo Phillips. Like I loved the surreal guys like Stephen Wright and Emo Phillips and guys who would just create these sort of warped realities. But I loved every kind of comedy. So for me it was, stand-up I was obsessed with, and then sci-fi and computers and video games and like stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and RPG games and computer stuff.
Well, your podcast that you do now, I just did it a couple of days ago, and it's in a little room.
Tiny little room
in the
Meltdown
back
Comics.
of a comic book store.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
Meltdown Comics. That's where we have a little theater as well, and it's at the back of Meltdown Comics and holds about 150 people.
So was your interest in comic books back then? Is that why you approached that space?
Well, I wasn't a huge comic book guy for a very long time. I was more of a gadget guy, a computer guy, and and a sci-fi guy. Comic books, I got scared away from comic books when I was like 12 because my best friend was an insane comic book collector, and he scared the shit out of me so much that it just didn't occur to me like, oh, you could just enjoy them. But
what scared you?
What scared me was that, every week he would go and buy 2 of everything, and one that he would keep in the Mylar, and then the other that he would take out and gingerly read so it was in slightly worse condition than the other ones. And then he had this attic. He was just a spoiled fucking kid, and he had this attic of the attic was divided by DC and Marvel universes, and then by just different iterations. Like, this is the row of all the iterations of Batman, and this is the, and I just saw that, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to do this. And so it kind of...
But maybe he was looking at you going, oh, he has his own bowling alley. He can just bowl whenever he wants.
That's right.
So I'll do this.
He had reason to be jealous. A bowling alley, video games. So, I became more of a computer tech. My grandfather was a big gadget guy, and so, I fell into like technology and computers and stuff instead.
And now you've combined the two.
Yes, now I read comic books on my gadgets. So it's all come back around. I can read them on my computers. So.
And tell me, Chris doesn't just have his own show, The Nerdist. He has a podcast network, and you have.
We make 1 million podcasts.
26 shows?
Or 26. We make 26 shows.
Can you name them?
Can I name every single one?
Or name some of the...
Well, the Todd Glass Show, Indoor Kids, which is a video game podcast with Kumail Nanjiani and his wife, Emily Gordon. We do a show with an 11-year-old kid who's the son of the guy who owns the comic book store called The Mutant Season with Gil. He's fantastic. We do the Pete Holmes Show. We do Nerdist Writers Panel, which is like a TV and film writing sort of a workshop panel. We do Chewin' It with a couple of the Broken Lizard guys. We do... Doug Benson does a food podcast with us.
Wait, what's Chewin' It?
It's just like Chewin' It like a talk show. It's just like a talk show. We do, Alton Brown does a podcast for us.
Are they all comedy?
But they're all funny and they're all funny. I mean, some of them are like Alton's is a food podcast that is also funny. So they're all pretty funny.
So how do you decide if somebody can be on your network or not?
I have a lot of money now, so I bought a bear. I bought a circus bear, and I just throw people in the ring with it, and if they can survive 3 rounds, then they get a podcast. If not, then they're not podcast worthy.
But the comic book guy's insane.
Yeah, that's right.
How many people have died?
You know what just occurred to me?
How many people have died?
I could buy a fucking bear. I could just buy a bear. I could just walk right out of here and go buy a bear on the internet and just have a bear tomorrow. I'm over it now. I get really excited about things, and then I'm like, not
Well,
fun
Chris,
anymore.
speaking of technology, Twitter's instantaneous, so I tweeted that Chris Hardwick was going to be on the show. And do you have
Tens of questions.
So I want to ask you some of these questions. One says, have you ever been to John's Comedy Club? What's it like? No, he's never been here.
Nope, have not been here.
Anything different? Oh, you can talk about this. Your show, can we expect anything different from the next season of Midnight?
Oh, yeah, at
Tell
Midnight.
us about that. That's a show you're doing on...
Yes, sir. At Midnight's a show that we do for Comedy Central. We did a month-long run to test it out, and it did well, and so Comedy Central picked it up for 40 weeks.
What is it?
It's essentially a social media comedy game show that sort of is like, it's the soul of a British panel show with the structure of a game show. So we'll have 3 comedians on, and we'll sort of navigate the internet stuff that we pulled from the day, and then the comedians will essentially make fun of it in a game show format. So we're on every Monday through Thursday, starting January 6th at midnight after Colbert.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was.
But
really
you've
fun.
been hosting stuff for years. When did you hosted that show, Singled Out on MTV?
I hosted the shit out of that show. I've been hosting shows since the 1900s.
Well, what was Singled Out exactly? I forget. What was it exactly?
Singled Out was a human fluid experiment. It was this really ridiculous 50 one person would pick from a pool of 50 members of the opposite sex. Although we did 2 gay shows that were fucking amazing, and MTV squashed them because the sponsors threatened to pull. So that was a fat sack of bullshit.
That's
But,
ironic, isn't it?
It really was. Yeah, I know. And the dumb thing about
The
it
gay
was
show and the sponsor threatened to pull out.
MTV should have grabbed
He
him and
said it,
no,
I'm just
don't pull out,
repeating it.
don't pull out. So yeah, it was really lame because they had accepted an award for being forward thinking and accepting gay and lesbian culture, and then they fucking buckled. It was gross. Anyway, it was gross that they gave in like that because those were 2 amazing episodes. But beyond that, it was someone would pick using a variety of categories. 50 people down to 1 person, and the people always hated each other. And I think most people watched the show just so they could see the moment when people would turn around, and then you could actually taste the disappointment coming through the television screen.
But would they have to? They pick one, and would they date each other? Or just,
No, I don't think
just-
any of them ever went out.
So it was just picking somebody. Like I pick you. That was the whole show.
No, that was Deal or No Deal. Singled Out was.
What did I miss? I don't.
So
Get
there were basically 3 rounds. The first round, they would whittle the dating pool down to like maybe 10 people using very superficial categories like, boob size and hair color and eye color, and then when it got down to 10 people, the second round, the person picking couldn't see the contestants. That was the other thing. So
it was the dating game.
It was kind of like the dating game with boners. And then the second round, they would have to perform, vocal tasks to convince the woman or man to keep them. And then they would whittle it down to 3 people, and then 3 people would have to match answers with the person. We'd get an A or a B, and then they would try to match the answers with the person picking, and then they would end up with someone. And what we proved is that it is impossible to find people who are compatible that way, because it did not work. I mean, it was good television, but it was a very bad dating mechanism.
Well, Scott was asking, any chance of Web Soup coming back?
No chance, Scott. G4 is dying. G4 is dead.
What was Web? Was that like Talk Soup, but on the web?
It was a spin-off of The Soup where it was basically.
You hosted that too.
I
right?
hosted that too. Yeah, we were developing this show at G4 called Web Soup, and then Comedy Central was like, "Well, we're going to do that, but with Daniel Tosh," and so they pushed up the production schedule on his, and they released his show first. But actually, I think he did a really great version of that show. So we were on for I don't know, 2 or 3 seasons, and then they were like, oh, no one watches G4, and so let's just shut it down. So they basically the whole network. We killed the network.
Jesus. You're also. Did you know that Chris is also a composer, songwriter, and a musician? It said you play the melodica.
I do play the melodica.
What is that? Like a harmonica?
It's like a mouth accordion. So an accordion.
So like a skin flute?
It's not like that. It's not like that at all because the melodica does not come in your mouth. That should have gotten a bigger laugh.
So it's like a sponsor. You pull it out.
Yeah, you pull it out. So the melodica is like the accordion works on the principle of.
Wait a minute. Do you have one in your bag?
No, I don't have a melodica. I should, but I don't.
Oh, for
Fuck
Christ.
you! And I just get really
crying
mad.
out loud. Oh, hello, Mr. Positive.
Here's your conflict. Yeah, no, the melodica basically, instead of pumping air into it like an accordion, you blow into it, and so you play it like this, but it's essentially a tiny little keyboard, and it sounds a little bit like an accordion, but
How
it's
big
cool.
is it?
Well,
How long is it? I was thinking it was a harmonic. Oh, it's a thing at the keyboard.
they can be anywhere from 26 to 33 keys, and anywhere in that massive range. And yeah, so some of them are a little bit smaller and some of them are a little bit larger.
And then you have it's you and another guy, Firm and Hard.
Mike Furman, yeah, Hard and Firm, yeah, Mike Furman. And
Well, that's his name. That's his name.
that was the name of our little comedy band where we made little nerdy songs about dinosaurs and the numerical value of pi and stuff like that. It was fun, yeah. But we haven't really done anything together for a while.
No.
Because Mike had to have kids and start a family. Did someone boo that? No, he's fostering life. He's continuing the human species. He's continuing the human species.
He didn't. He wasn't a sponsor. He didn't pull out.
So we haven't been able to do stuff together in a long time.
So you just stopped writing music?
Yeah, fuck it. Fuck music.
Well, that was a question that.
Where's the
led
camera?
nowhere.
Fuck you, music. Yeah, we
Chris.
haven't. What? Sorry, I'm trying to be more like Mark.
I didn't say you should be like Mark.
All right, good. Yeah, I would write more music if Mike and I mean, like if we had time, but now my schedule's super busy and his schedule's super busy, so now we just hang out as friends. Have you ever done a partner act with someone before? You ever done a?
No.
What happens is you spend so much time together working that you stop hanging out as friends. Like, it's kind of a shitty thing that happens, and then you really kind of have to go, we should just go to lunch and not talk about work. You really have to carve out time to just be friends. So, that's...
I mean, when I was on the Saturday Night Live with the Groundlings, you have your friends and you wrote, sketches together, which is kind of... I never did stand-up, but you'd write sketches together, but...
Yeah. Well,
it wasn't like just one person every day, so...
Well, when... with SNL, you have a show structure and you have but when you're just doing a two-man comedy act, like, you're it. You just deal with each other and you have to run the whole machine.
Did you like doing stand-up with someone else on stage next to you?
I loved it.
Alone?
I loved it. I love both. I loved doing it with Mike because we were best friends, and so we would travel the country and do all these colleges, and I can't imagine having to do that alone because performing at colleges is really grueling. Did you ever do it? Did you ever perform at colleges?
No, I can't get colleges. They won't hire me.
It's well, it's pretty sweet, but it's a pretty grueling schedule because you basically fly to some small town, so it takes 2 airplanes to get there, and then you rent a car, and then you drive within a 100-200 mile radius and do a bunch of colleges. And so I can't imagine doing that alone. And most of the time when we would show up for these colleges, they're basically run by college students, the shows, and so they don't promote it because they're college students and they don't give a fuck. And so you'd show up and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we forgot to hand out flyers," and you would essentially just perform your entire act for like the security staff. And so I can't imagine. And when doing it with Mike, it was really fun because it was really fun to have that experience. So and you get to see so much of the country that most people don't.
What
ever
was your
get
act?
to see.
You would do jokes and play music?
Yeah. We would fuck around and play songs and fuck around with people in the audience, and it was really fun.
I think it would be harder doing it with somebody because the timing back and forth.
No, because when you have someone that you really click with, you just you know each other so well that you immediately know where they're going with stuff and how they work, and then you basically just compliment each other, and then you basically it just becomes like this joke pile. It's really fun when you hit it off with.
So
the right
what, you would
person.
improvise the act, or?
Yeah, we fucked around. We would improvise a lot of the stuff in between the songs, just us dicking around. Yeah, that was actually why it took us forever to get our comedy special on Comedy Central, because they kept saying, like, you guys don't really do, you don't really do solid jokes in between the acts. You're just fucking around, and you can't really fuck around with the audience on television. It doesn't read as well. And they were right. So we actually we started
Well, yeah,
writing.
you could if they knew how to shoot it right.
It's hard though, because comedy is very hard to shoot, period, because it really is an of the moment. It's a very communal thing, and having it be on television, there's a layer of separation between you and the people that are there. So if there's stuff that's really inside that's happening and you're not a part of it, it just doesn't connect as well, I don't feel like.
Well, if you can't hear the person talking, but
Yeah.
there's a way to do it. The people are idiots.
All right, I'm wrong.
You can't do that. Yeah, you can. Just figure it out.
You can't just...
Why don't we take some questions from the audience? Anybody? Who's asking the questions? Is it Gene Pompa or Mark?
I'll tell you this.
That was Gene Pompa. Are you both Mexican? No, senor.
I'm actually part Italian. My mother is Italian, so I am Italiano. and then just weird Anglo mutt. I'm not really sure my dad's side are just white people who probably came from Scotland or Northern England and then relocated to the Appalachians and were hillbillies and rednecks and then just bred. I'm only No, but my Italian relatives, my mom's side of the family is fucking enormous because my great-grandparents immigrated from Italy and they just came over and just had like 11 children and lived in New York and New Jersey, and it's basically just created this human pyramid scheme.
But you were born in Louisville, Kentucky, right?
I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, that's right. I was born in Louisville.
Did you go to the Kentucky Derby? Were you into that?
I have been to the Kentucky Derby, yeah, I have been. I moved away from Louisville when I was a little kid, so I haven't been back since.
So you didn't want to be a jockey?
I thought about it for a long time, and then I lost my passion for it when I realized I was terrified of riding horses because they're large animals that can crush you. And I don't feel like I'm in control of a horse, which is the worst way to approach horse riding. They don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate it. They don't like the pee trickling down their back. It's just not a win for anyone. So I don't ride horses. I don't think horses really want to be ridden. If a tinier creature just like put a fucking saddle on you and they're like, run! You're like, that would be really shitty.
Well, but if it was like a hot girl that was shorter than me, I might be up.
How many
for it.
hot girl jockeys are there really where the horses are like, all right, this party's picking up. Now the riding crop is sexy.
No, I didn't mean riding the horse. I meant
I'm
riding
sorry.
me.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Gene, do you have the mic?
Gene just passed away.
Gene.
Like my
He's
father.
probably in the...
What?
Well, I don't,
If you don't laugh at that, you're disrespecting my father's memory.
Gene's, with all due respect, he's probably in the kitchen washing dishes. Now, who has a question for Chris Hardwick? Raise your hand.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
He doesn't have a microphone. We established this. Twofold question. What happened to Shipmates? First question. What's my favorite project? Well, John was not on Shipmates.
I don't know. I don't even know what Shipmates is.
Well, you are missing out. Shipmates was...
Although there was a gay cruise, it's Shitmates.
No points. Shipmates was a dating show that I did in 2001 when my career was in what could be referred to as a fast-moving downward spiral. And so I did this show called Shipmates, which actually turned out to be a lot of fun, but it was essentially blind date on a cruise ship. The idea being, blind date's great, but what if we could somehow trap these people so that they couldn't escape each other? And I always said Shipmates was very bad for humanity, but wonderful for television. So we would just get these, and all the cruises ran off the East Coast, and so we didn't get actors like Blind Date did. The Blind Date got a lot of people who were actually out of work actors and come on the show, but we got
fake.
We got like real deal like nail salon ladies and bouncers, and it was fucking shit was on. And I'd never realized that people throwing drinks in each other's faces was a thing that happened, and it happened like endlessly on our show. Like a guy and a girl would be hungover, and the other thing about being on a cruise is that they didn't have any money because they thought that everything was paid for, and they'd get on and realize they had to pay for booze. So they were broke and hungover and scrounging drinks. And then eventually they would get in an argument, and the guy would just be like, fuck you, and then throw a drink in a girl's face. Like, the crew just let it happen. No one stopped it. And then we put it on television. And it actually did really well. My favorite project, I think, I really like everything that I'm doing now. I feel like I'm in a really comfortable holding pattern with all of the stuff that At Midnight's fantastic because it's a game show format which I like, and it's really fast and it's improv-y and it's with comedians and it's about social media where I live a lot of the time. So that game that job's super fun. I really like Talking Dead because I like The Walking Dead, and it's fun to be associated with that show. I love doing the podcast.
Wait, Talking Dead is a show that goes after Walking Dead?
That's right. Things happen on that show, and then we just talk about it. So it's a really tough job.
So you just watch it and then talk about it?
I know. It's ridiculous, but that's what the show is.
You could do that for every single show on television.
You could.
You could have 1,000 shows.
I almost do. And then
How many shows are you hosting right now?
I'm only hosting 2 television shows. I host 2 television shows and a podcast, and then I do a Nickelodeon. I do a cartoon on Nickelodeon, which is really fun, called Sanjay and Craig. And
you're the voice of.
I'm a voice of a talking snake, and then I do stand up on the weekends, and then I run Nerdist in between everything else.
How many hours a week do you work?
A lot of them. I work all the hours. It's a lot, but it doesn't really feel like work to me because I basically set out to just only work on things that I actually care about, which is a wildly crazy idea, but I recommend it. I recommend it for people.
No, it's not crazy. It's you're lucky that you can do it.
I'm very lucky.
But you also chose to do it, didn't you?
I did.
So it's not so lucky.
Actually, what happened is the entertainment business rejected me, so just basically like this snotty, nerdy kid, I was like, I'll show you. And then
They rejected you. You're working nonstop.
No, they did before. But, now they're nice to me, but they weren't for a long time. So it was just sort of fierce determination. My dad was a guy who really believed that you should pursue the things that you love, and my mom too. And my dad left home when he was 17 to be a Pro Bowler, and so he was always like, if you're not happy, it's not worth it. I don't care how much money you make. If you're not happy, it's not worth it. So do what you love. And so, that's basically what I do. Whenever I would get kind of knocked down by the entertainment business, I would just start a new thing. And so, at a certain point, some of that stuff worked out.
Well, you said you were into technology, and on Twitter, Frank Villardo asks, are you here, Frank? Oh, I thought Twitter. I go, someone's watching it on UStream. It's right there, a guy right there. Frank Villardo. Wait, wave again. that guy right there. What is your favorite? What is your favorite new technology that you think will change the world? That's so weird. You're sitting right there. You could have asked it, but you tweeted it. Go ahead, ask it.
What is your favorite new technology that you think is going to really change the space of either mobile?
That's weird. Someone just tweeted that. It hasn't really caught on yet. I am a fan of inductive charging, which is essentially wireless charging. It's been around for a while. You see it with electric toothbrushes, but it's essentially inductive charging where devices are charged on a surface that conducts the current, and it basically. I fucking hate wires, and I'm so excited about any technology that frees us from wires and cords. So I really like inductive charging. There was a really great display at CES a couple years ago, and it was to show off like how inductive charging could work like in a grocery store. So they had all these boxes of cereal, and the boxes of cereal had this special ink that you could run a current through, and so all the cereal boxes were essentially animated with lights. And then when you'd pick up the box, the lights would go off when you'd put the box back on. And so that sort of stuff to me is super fun and Blade Runner-y and future-y. So I would say.
They have something like that at Brookstone now, isn't it? You plug it in and you just put your phone on top of a pad.
Yeah.
But this is different.
No, it's the same thing. It's just that it's still very clunky. If you wanted, you can get that's probably a Mophie Power Pack, right? So that's an extra.
Yes,
that's an extra
it is,
charging.
yes.
So you basically would have to get. It makes your phone clunkier. You can get an inductive charging case on your phone and then just set it on the surface. But it's clunky, and I like to have my phone thinner so I can keep it in my pocket where it's safe. So yeah, it hasn't really caught on yet. I will say. I would like to say to the entertainment business, everyone else, fucking give up on 3D. Please stop. It doesn't enhance the experience of anything, and you haven't hit it yet. So that's my gripe.
I like 3D, and I do think
I'm experiencing it now. I have it in life. Whoa.
Yeah, but they're gonna have a sense around 3D porn, and that would enhance that.
You'd think that would be a good idea, but I think it would be a terrifying idea.
I had a question.
Gene Pompa, the Mexican. Si, senor.
Have you and Mr. Lovitz met prior to this on any kind of website or dating site?
Todd Glass set us up.
We met on OkCupid. We did the podcast.
I met Chris
on the
2
podcast.
days ago. I did his podcast.
I met John years ago, but it was very briefly. It was after a Laugh Factory show, and it was when I was drunk. It was in the old days.
We had one more member in the audience that had a question. Forgive me.
Yes,
Yes, Chris. Why do you hate the Jews?
Boo.
That's my partner in the club. He texted me to ask you that. And it went like,
And he
then
was like,
asked you.
John's not going to do it. I really think I'm going to have to
He's
say this.
Jewish.
No, the floor is open. Anyone that wants to ask a question, by all means, raise your hand, and you'll be.
Somebody must have a question. Wait. It's Frank Villardo again.
Frank Villardo had a question.
Frank, what's on your nose? Did you break your nose?
No, I had
Nose job?
surgery. I had an exocorporal septoplasty.
Oh, you have a deviated septum.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Smart man. Yes.
Thank
Did you really
you.
have a
I don't
deviated septum,
anymore,
or just
actually.
a nose, or just go? We'll say it's a deviated septum for insurance purposes, but
No,
it's a nose job.
It was completely 100% blockage on my
And so they
left
have to
side.
go in and like shave it down and.
Well, actually, they cut your nose underneath. They take your septum off your face, and they restructure it on a table and then put it back in your.
Did
back
you
in
have
your
packing?
face. No, they don't do packing.
They don't do
anymore.
packing anymore.
They use stents, and I had the.
Was it
stents
Dr.
out.
Paley by any chance?
No, Dr. Amanpour. He was awesome.
Oh.
Are you awake for this procedure?
No.
That's good, because
Hell
that would be
no.
really weird to see your
Hell
septum on
no.
a table.
And are you?
Even if you
can
couldn't feel it,
breathe
you'd be
better
like, that
now?
should be in my body.
Yeah,
Can you breathe better now?
Oh my God.
You notice a big difference?
Huge difference.
When
And
did
I
you
got
have it
this-
done?
Last Friday. Friday the 13th, actually. I know. Bad day to get a surgery, right?
And do you have? So you're getting more oxygen to your body.
I am.
Do you
and
notice you're sleeping any differently?
I am, and I'm
Better?
smelling things I've never smelt in my life. I mean, I've said to my wife 100 times in the last week, like,
Do we
Use
want to hear
deodorant.
this?
what is that smell?
You said to your wife, use deodorant. I can
What is
smell
that
you.
smell? Yeah, like I just smell things that I've never smelt before that I didn't realize smelled the way they smell.
It's like you're seeing with your nose.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
You're like,
It was scary.
You go, what's that smell? And she goes, you shit your pants again.
Oh,
I did.
I told you.
I didn't realize that had an odor. I thought it was just a sagging feeling.
It was just warm. It was amazing to get done. Yeah, it's been an experience. It was painful, but I'm glad it's over.
Oh, what was your question?
When you started The Nerdist, were you at all concerned about how you were going to monetize that podcast, or did you figure, I just want to do a good show, good content, I don't care about how we're going to make money?
I didn't. I mean, I really feel like, do the thing you love first, and then it'll come later, or you'll figure it out later. We didn't actually do sponsorships on the podcast for the first 6 or 7 months because I just wanted to see if it was anything that anyone, that spoke to anyone or that we had fun doing. I mean, I didn't know. We just started it. I had the idea. I was like, well, on a Thursday, I said, we should do a podcast. And then on Sunday, we were at Tom Lennon's house recording it. It actually happened to be Super Bowl Sunday, and none of us give a shit about football. So So Super Bowl Sunday is like weirdly our anniversary. And then I just sort of figured, at a certain point we'll sort that stuff out. So
Do you remember who won the game?
I don't even remember who was playing. My parents were always so disappointed that, I mean, like the day of the Super Bowl, I don't know I just don't give a shit. I've tried to watch it and I just can't connect with it. I think it's because,
Doesn't affect your life.
You don't like football.
I was an only child, and I think there's a certain amount of narcissism that comes with that, and certainly a certain amount that you need to be a stand-up. And I think for me, I can't picture myself doing it, and so I don't have a connection point in. I think if I were to find a connection point, it would probably be like stats and facts and figures and that sort of thing. But other than that, I just watch it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, and dudes try to bond all the time. Like, did you see the game? And I'm like, no, this conversation's over. Like, I just don't even know what to say.
Is Ninja Rockstar here?
Who else has a question?
No, okay.
Anyone
Here's
have a comment, question,
Is
criticism?
Ninja Rockstar here?
This young lady.
Go ahead.
It sounds like you guys keep really, really busy. You with your 11 million projects, you with your club. Is there ever a day you wake up, say, you know what, fuck being a productive human being, I'm going to blank? Like, what do you guys do for fun?
Fuck what?
Fuck being a productive human being, I'm going to blank. Like, what do you guys do for fun?
What do you do for fun when you're not being productive?
Yeah, well, what's recreational to you that's not
the one
entertainment oriented?
I do the one thing that Oh, I'm sorry, Gene. When did this become your show?
Go ahead.
When I
Go
try
ahead,
to
Mr.
do,
Lovitz.
I do the one
understand you
thing
have a
that
comment.
all guys do, and then after that I shower. And I like to play I play tennis and golf a lot. I'm always doing something. I don't know.
What's funny is that a lot of the
I just
things
like
that
doing something every day.
a lot of the things that were my hobbies are now kind of my job. So, if I'm playing if I go to play a video game, it's fun, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, but this is also kind of work at the same time. But it's fine. It's not a bad problem to have. I don't really, if I have a day where I'm like, fuck it, I don't feel like being productive, it's hard to do that because I just have a lot of responsibility. People rely on me and shit. So I actually have to,
Do you bowl anymore?
Only when I bowl when I'm making the bowling
fun?
show for the fucking YouTube channel.
But
when I
that's
bowl.
kind of
Oh.
stimulating anyways when you're just out and about and enjoying.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you have hobbies, or are you saying your hobbies are your work?
my hobbies are my work, which is good and can also be bad if you get to the point where you're like, oh, my hobbies feel like a chore, but that I haven't gotten to that point. But honestly, on days where I don't really feel like doing anything, I literally don't do anything. I do nothing. I'll just mindlessly surf around on the internet or just walk around somewhere, or but I don't have a lot of those days, and my schedule's pretty insane because I work all week and then I travel and do stand up on the weekends, and usually it hits me about every 6 weeks. I'll have a day or two where I feel like it's hard to move and I can't think straight because my brain is foggy, but then it goes away. So.
Well, you like being busy.
I do like being busy. Yeah, I do like being busy so that I don't have to be alone with my thoughts, trying to figure shit out.
Now, both you gentlemen do.
Wait, Gene.
This is from.
I know, wait, Gene.
An audience member who sent me a note.
Yeah, Gene, hang on a second.
He sent me
will
a
you?
note.
Gene, will you just shut up? Hang on. The Ninja Rockstar on Twitter says, who's been your favorite comic on Midnight so far, and who's your favorite comic of all time?
Well, I think Steve Martin probably gets the favorite comic of all time award from me because he's the guy that first excited a comedy molecule in my body. When he would first go on SNL, my parents thankfully had no content restrictions for me. They let me watch whatever I wanted to, R-rated comedies, They would, my dad would give me like a Richard Pryor special and be like, you're probably too young for this, but fuck it. So, I would watch Live on the Sunset Strip, so I don't know. So Steve Martin's probably the all-time guy. And we've had a lot, most of the people that have been on At Midnight are friends of mine, and they're all comics that, I mean, I feel so lucky to be in a community of comics that I would love even if I weren't a comedian. And then I happen to be friends with them, and they're cool people. Like Kyle Kinane is fucking amazing. Kurt Braunohler, Kristen Schaal, Nikki Glazer, Howard Kramer, Doug Benson, David Koechner was fucking fantastic on the show.
All white people.
Ron Funches, Kumail Nanjiani.
Any
it's
Mexican comics?
Gene Pompa.
I think Gene Pompa is Greek. I don't really think he's Mexican. Pompeii.
This is his Greek cousin, Gene Pompey.
Gene, you like to take over the show at this point? Go ahead.
No, I'm fine. I was just trying to funnel the questions through the.
All right. Well, Gene, you have someone with a question?
Yeah, they were asking if either one of you smoke marijuana or do Quaaludes.
Is that you asking
No, I
that?
don't do Quaaludes because it's not the fucking 70s. I don't do barbiturates either. Those were always the drugs they warned you about in school. I'm like, what is a Quaalude? Would I even know a Quaalude if someone was like, take this?
I had a girlfriend at 16. She goes, "You want to take Quaaludes?" I'm like, I don't know.
Was this last week? Come on. See the comedy
I
mechanism?
said when I was.
Oh,
16.
when you were 16. I'm sorry. I missed that part of it. No, I don't do. I've been sober
No, but-
since. Even when I wasn't sober, all I did was drink. I hated weed, and I never took any other drugs because my brain vibrates at such a high frequency anyway that if I were to have taken coke or speed or anything else, I probably would have just ripped my own eyes out and
But
stomped on them.
you were drinking a lot, and you said at 30 you stopped.
Yeah, I stopped when I was 31. But I used to, I drank a lot. And so, you know, I don't, the good thing about that is that I don't feel like, oh, maybe I didn't drink enough. Like, I know, like, I did. I got it covered. I had it covered. I'm good.
Do you miss it?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Did you have to go to AA to stop, or
I
you
went
just
to
stopped on your
AA. I
own?
went to AA a couple times, and listen, my feeling is AA is really amazing for some people. I didn't connect with it, but I will say, whatever you do, if you want to quit something, you need a support structure. And I had a therapist that I really liked, and friends who had quit, who had some years of sobriety. So I had a support structure. It just wasn't AA, but AA is really great for some people, and it just did. I just didn't connect with it. I always found when I would go to an AA meeting that I would go in feeling kind of good and then just leave really sad. Just like watching people talk about the lowest points in their life. It didn't really make me feel like, oh, I'm a part of this greater. I always
Made
just
you want to
felt
go
like,
out and get a drink.
you joke, but it really sort of did. Like I was like, fuck. So, it just didn't, and some people will say like, well, maybe you didn't go to the right one. I'm like, well, maybe I didn't, but I still
You
did
didn't
it
go to the
way
right one.
Yeah, in other words, I didn't go to the right group. I should have kept going until I found a group that I connected with. But I did what worked
But
for
then
me.
there's some
and-
people go to those, and then they're addicted to that. Like they just go to meetings every day.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, there are some of us in the world who have addictive personalities. Some would say I transferred that to work with all of the busyness. But I sort of feel like I know I'm predisposed to sort of be that way and be intense about things. So when I quit drinking, I decided, well, if I have this predisposition, I'm at least going to focus in on something constructive and try to understand why I feel the need to do this. You don't really, quitting something doesn't solve all your problems. It just sets the table so you can start figuring out why you're fucked up. And that's when you start, sorting all your
Did
shit
you
out.
figure out, without saying,
I don't know if any of us-
did you figure out why though?
I don't know if any of us figure out exactly why we're fucked up, but I definitely learned a lot, and I recognize a lot of things about myself that usually just trace back to childhood shit, where we're basically just these malleable little balls of emotional clay and that get poked, and then and then we go on and re-express those things in our adult life. But I feel like I still have a lot of shit to work on, but I feel like I've done a lot too.
Yeah.
I feel smarter now. I feel wiser now than I did at 31, and I'm sure at 51 I will feel
Did you
wiser
feel
then.
healthier? when you stopped drinking? Like,
Oh,
did you
almost
feel better?
immediately. I mean, I was puffy. I mean, I probably lost like 35 or 40 pounds within a month or two, because not only are our bodies not adapted to consume 15 to 20 beers a day, but it's also, you do dumb things like, well, I'll have a pizza at 3 a.m. because I'm drunk and fuck it. I wasted so much money on pizzas that I ordered and then passed out that never got delivered to me. But then they charge you for them anyway. You'd think they'd just be nice enough and just leave it on your doorstep. They're like, well, we're going to charge this fucker. We'll just leave the pizza. But they never did. They always took it back and kept the money. So you're not engaging in that kind of behavior either. So I dropped weight like that. And honestly, there was a certain amount of vanity that actually made me in the beginning go, hey, maybe this isn't so bad. And then, of course, after that, I realized the much bigger issues, science.
Bless you.
I say science. They're much big, then you kind of dissect the much bigger issues. So
So you have no regrets for stopping drinking, obviously.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's only, it's very, very rare, but if I'm in London, or if I'm somewhere that's kind of quaint, or a culture like London, which makes drinking charming, I'll go, oh, it's too bad I can't go in and just like have a pint of beer in a pub. And then I instantly I flash forward to what that would lead to. I think what keeps...
So if you went in and you just tried to have one beer...
Couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it? Really? You would just go have another and another?
I know exactly what would
Really?
happen. I know exactly what would happen. And I think part of the reason why I've stayed successfully sober is because I respect the power of my addiction. Because what would happen is I'd probably have a beer and then nothing would happen. And I'd be like, oh, I'm cured. I'm fine. And then the next night I would have a beer, and then maybe a week would go by and I'd have a couple. And I think I talked to Marin and a bunch of other comics like Greg Barrett and guys like that who were all sober, and we're like, how long do you think it would take if you started back? And everyone said a month to 2 months. But then before you'd be fucking right back where you were when it left off. Yeah, there's no question in my mind that would happen. Because drinking is fucking fun. When you're doing it, it just feels fun and it's good, and you don't have to feel anything, and it numbs you, and it's really about...
I'm like that now with mini donuts.
The mini ones do just taste better. There's more flavor packed in a tiny package. But
It's funny though, in Los Angeles, I mean, I do jokes about it in my act, but it's true. Like, I like to go to a... you go to a restaurant or they have a sports bar, and I like the atmosphere. I like to sit at a bar and watch the sports, but I don't drink, and I never really did. And then they go, hey, John, can I buy you a beer? I'm like, no, thanks. They're like, oh, alcoholic? Like, no, I just don't like the taste,
Yeah.
And they don't accept the fact that, or same guy goes, John, are you married? No. Oh, gay? No, I just don't like the taste. Well, I don't. But the point is, no, but it's true in Los Angeles. They just assume.
Well, a lot of people don't.
So now I'm 56. I go, how long you been sober? I go, 55 years. I go, but that first year was a fucking bitch. And and it was tough because I was a raging alcoholic. And then, you'd go to a bar to get a drink, and then you couldn't get a drink, because I was too young. They go, you need an ID.
Yeah, because you were
But I couldn't get an ID because I was only like 9 months old. So it was a catch-22, and it was a big problem.
It's tough. Well, I mean, you overcame it a little bit, and you got to drink for a while.
Well, I never really did it, too, because I thought that if I did, I don't know why I thought this. I thought, well, I'd probably have fun, and I'd probably become an alcoholic. And then I'd have to quit and go to AA.
I mean, listen.
And then stop. And then I go, well, that's where I'm at right now.
Not drinking isn't
I'll
the
skip
worst
that
thing in
step.
the world. It's really not the worst thing in the world. I mean, if you can drink responsibly, great. But in large quantities, alcohol doesn't provide anything good for a person's body. There's not one redeeming quality about it, really. And it's funny. Every time your alcoholic brain will see a story come out like, well, in Italy they say, wine helps you live longer and it keeps your arteries. And you're like, yeah, not like 20 wines, like half a glass of wine with lunch.
Glass of red wine.
A glass of red wine, yeah, not all the wine. So it really just, for me, I think I was just like, oh, it doesn't really. And then you get this certain point in the night where you're having drunken conversations with people that are utterly meaningless because you're both drunk and you may not even mean what you're saying, nor will you remember it. So I really kind of came to embrace having real experiences that weren't tainted by a chemical. So, but I don't fault anyone. Like, if you can drink, great. But I don't, I'm just not one of those people.
Does anyone we have a couple of questions left before we hit our final.
One
Go ahead,
plucky
young
young
man.
lad's hand went up in the front row. I can see a smile on his face and a twinkle in his eye.
Gene, thank you for helping me wrap up the show. The fuck's wrong with you? The goddamn host. Idiot.
So,
Before Gene Pompa wraps up my show, did anyone else have a question? Gene silently takes over the fucking Mexican mafia. Fucking hone in without me even realizing it. Come next week, I'll be opening for Gene. Pompa or Leavitz. What the fuck?
So from a fellow Whovian, I just wanted to know what were your thoughts on the 50th anniversary and
He's talking about Doctor Who, yes.
Yeah, Doctor Who.
What are your thoughts on what?
The
50th anniversary of Doctor Who.
And if you're planning on doing something for the Christmas special.
Well, I thought I would celebrate Christmas. I loved the 50th. I thought 50th was really great. They did a really great job.
Of Doctor Who?
Of Doctor Who.
You mean like
It's
the
on
Dr.
first.
Seuss?
Not like Dr. Seuss at all.
What's Doctor? Oh, the what?
Doctor Who, the British television sci-fi television show.
Oh, I never heard of it.
God damn it!
Well, tell me
It's
about
been
it.
around for 50 years, John.
In England.
Yes, but here too on PBS
Did you
in
ever
the
hear of a band
70s.
called Status Quo?
Did it what?
Status Quo?
No.
Oh, really? They've been around 50 years in England.
All right.
More number one hits in England than
Okay,
the Rolling Stones.
you've successfully England co-shamed me. Yes, I loved the 50th. I thought they did a really great job. I thought there were a lot of nice nods. I thought it was very respectfully done. I loved seeing Tennant in the Tennant suit again. I loved seeing Matt and David together and John Hurt. I've been getting in arguments with people. They're like, so that makes Tennant the 11th Doctor. I'm like, no. The War Doctor was at. I'm pretty sure Moffat said he was outside the line somehow because he can just say that because he's the puppet master and we'll believe him. But I think John Hurt came along basically because Eccleston probably wouldn't do it. So they were like, well, fuck you, we'll get John Hurt, and he'll just be this other doctor. But I thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to and not looking forward to when a doctor regenerates, I have to be consoled for like 2 days. When Tennant left, it was fucking miserable. But
What
I love
kind
Matt.
of a show is this?
Well, it's essentially a sci-fi show about a mad genius alien who is 911 years old at this point, or 907 years old. 911? Is he 907, 908? He was okay. So he basically goes around the universe and just tries to help people with sci-fi ways. And he doesn't particularly possess any magical powers, any alien powers, other than the fact that he has 2 hearts, and he has a special weapon. Not a weapon, it's really a tool, a sonic screwdriver. And he helps people using his vast mind. And it's great. It's like the perfect sci-fi show. They go, and he has this living time machine that looks like a police box that's bigger on the inside, and he tours the universe, and he essentially tries to right wrongs because he has a very dark past, and it's great. And sometimes they go back in history, sometimes they go to other planets. It's the best
And they have
show.
different actors playing Doctor Who.
Well, the genius part of the show is that the show started in 1963, and in order to refresh the show, which is a very non-British television show thing to do, because usually they're like, oh, we got 6 episodes, fuck that, let's go do something else. To refresh the show, they built in this idea that the lead character, the Doctor, would die but regenerate into another body. So he's still him, but kind of not him. And so essentially, 12 actors, including John Hurt, have played the Doctor so far, and the 13th Doctor, well, it's kind of confusing. The official 12th Doctor, who is actually the 13th Doctor, is coming in December, and it's this actor named Peter Capaldi, and I'm excited because he's really great. So it'll be sad to see Matt go, very exciting to see Peter Capaldi come by. And I'm sorry to anyone else who just fucking went to sleep who's not a Doctor Who fan. Now that's me talking about, that's my sports.
Where can you see it in the States?
You can see it on BBC America! Or if you have a proxy server, you can see it on BBC! Or you can get it on iTunes, or there's episodes on Netflix, and it's out there. The internets, go to the internets. Yeah, I recommend getting a proxy server if you don't have one, because then you can watch content from other countries that's geo-blocked for America. I like that technology, sir. I like proxy servers.
We have 4 questions left.
And they're all from Gene.
Oh, really, Gene? Yeah. Well, why are you the...
Just random, I don't know.
Oh, you just said that? Yeah, because does anyone else have a question for Chris? We're going to wrap it up. Well, I want to thank you for coming to the show. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you, John Lovitz.
It's been a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank
Chris Hardwick, everybody.
Thank you, John Lovitz audience.
Check out The Nerdist on iTunes. It's a great, great comedy podcast.
And At Midnight comes back January 6th. Please watch it. Please.
What? You can say that again. What?
At Midnight comes back January 6th, and I am literally begging you to watch it. Does that make it not cool? Too fucking bad. I want
January 6th, midnight.
Yeah.
Midnight comes back.
On
That's right.
Comedy Central?
That's right.
Sweet.
Technically, you might say that's January 7th, but it's the Monday, so just fucking deal with the fact that it's the day of January 6th. It's the midnight that night. Science!
And now, this is the part of the show where I say it's called awkward.
We'll
Ready?
just set the mics down and then just watch people decide when to leave.
Anybody have to take a shit? Bathroom's on the 2nd floor. I don't have to go anywhere. It's my club.
Here, we'll see if we can get people to leave. When I feel the time's a ways to go, we're going but my boat, and I feel it as it feels it. Yeah. You're still here.
I sat next to Scott Whalen at a Passover dinner.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he feel it?
That sounds like him. That's good.
That's not a hard voice to do. You just feel it. You just constrict your throat as much as possible. That's all it is. Anyone can do it. Try it. See? There you go. Stone Temple Pumpa.
Can you do any other impressions?
No.
Can you do the snake?
Oh, the snake is just me, but louder. I'm now the snake. Hey, it's me, Chris. Now I'm Craig. Hey, Chris. Hey, Craig. That's it. It's not that exciting. It's really funny. A lot of times they'll bring in, they don't do it so much anymore, but they used to, because I did a show for Nickelodeon for a long time called Back at the Barnyard, which was another talking animal show. And so kids would get really excited that they would bring these tour groups into kids and be like, hey, you want to go see a barnyard? And kids would go, oh my God. And I think in the kids' heads, they would expect to see like a bipedal talking cow at a microphone recording the show. And they come in and just see a bunch of boring adults, and the kids would immediately just get bummed out. They're like, this is boring.
Is that still on the air?
Barnyard, I don't know if they're still airing Barnyard anymore, but Sanjay and Craig's on now.
Where? What?
Nickelodeon. It's on Nickelodeon. It's a fun show. What do you do?
How the hell do you have time to
How do I have time?
do everything you do? Yeah, it just seems like you're doing...
I'm an
I mean, it's
amazing,
great, but it's-
I'm an amazing calendar manager, and I basically everything in my life are modular units that I can stack around Tetris style in the middle of the day. My calendar is color coded, and everything I do takes about an hour and a half. So it just all fits together. It just all fits together that way. I worked hard. I was very disorganized as a drunken youth. So I read a bunch of fucking time management and self-help books, and then I just got my shit together. So that was all. Anyone can do it. It's not hard. You just have to focus on it a little bit. That's it. If you changed one thing about your life and did it even once a week, just one new thing once a week and worked on it over time, you would change the course of your life. It's not hard. People are just like, oh, I don't know. By the time you're asking yourself questions about it, you're talking yourself out of it. So just fucking do it. Stop fucking, just do it. And now I just start shouting at people until they leave. The show was fun until Chris Hardwick started shouting at us, and it's made us feel like we weren't doing enough.
Well, what was an example of something like that you did in your life?
A good thing or a bad thing?
A good thing.
Well, I learned how to use a calendar, and I learned how to color code a calendar, and I just got really good at scheduling things, and I stuck to it, and I would make task lists, and I would check those things off, and I would write things down that were in my head, because your head can get crowded with just data, and you clear that out by putting it into the physical world and looking at it and then manipulating it.
So you make a lot of lists?
Well, I did, yeah. I have an assistant now, so that's also. So get an assistant. I highly recommend them. They do things for you. But honestly, even before I had an assistant, I was very organized with time, because I wasn't when I was younger. So I made it a point to learn how to do that. Another trick that I did was that I would just listen to self-help shit in the car, time management stuff. Just realizing, like, well, I could just listen to the same and LA is a very car-based culture, as you guys may know. So I was like, oh, well, instead of just listening to the same songs over and over again, I'll just listen to things that will teach me things, and I will try to use that time to learn. And it actually worked pretty well. So I recommend that. You could learn about anything you want.
Like, what did you learn new in the car?
Just time management stuff, or just different ways of thinking, or I don't know, how to not be such an asshole to myself, or anything. I mean, you literally, especially with podcasts or like iTunes U or anything, like if you wanted to learn about physics, MIT puts physics lectures up on iTunes U. So you could just learn about physics if you wanted to while you're driving. You could just learn stuff. You could just learn things. You could put anything you want. Every day of your life is a fresh whiteboard that you can just fill up with shit. Anything you want. You could learn anything you want. So there's so much power in the internet, but most of the time we're just jerking off to it. It's not just a jerk-off machine. You can also jerk your brain off.
No, it's not just a jerk-off machine. But as far as jerk-off machines go,
yes, it is good. It is good.
It's one of the best.
It is good. If only my laptop had one of those really bad, like Acme Wile E. Coyote like robotic arms that came out, then it would be the perfect machine. But it doesn't. Has anyone ever had a fear, like if you were jerking off in front of your computer, do you ever have a weird fear like, what if my iChat camera just came on right now? Hi, honey, you're busy. I'll come back. We're not leaving.
Do you use any time management software, like on a tablet or phone?
No, I have note-taking programs, but I essentially just use iCal. But there's some really good. Evernote's a pretty robust, like, organizer of notes and thoughts and ideas and pictures, and But I also use this really simple one called it's called To Do, I think. It's just a very simple. Oh, it's called Plain Text. It's really just a simple note-taking program, so I keep a lot of stuff in there. And it syncs through Dropbox. So if you guys don't have Dropbox, you should get Dropbox. It syncs all your files on your hard drive. This is becoming it's kind of a tech-based show now,
Yes.
John.
Oh, I have trouble. I'm not good at getting organized.
You're not? You're done with it?
What?
You don't want to get organized? You're not going to get organized?
No, I do.
Oh, you do
I'm not
organize
good
it.
at it. I'm listening.
It's
One time my dad bought me a tape on getting organized, and then I lost it.
So then he got you a tape on how not to
Well,
lose
since
your
I'm
organ.
15, and they call me, he goes, what are you doing? I go, this was like 15 years later, I'm 30. He goes, what are you doing, John? I go, getting organized. And then we would both just start laughing. Because I knew it wasn't going to happen.
It's tough to throw that shit at a 15-year-old, though. They don't give a shit about anything. But it helps to fuck up in life so that you know, like, oh, I
No, he
shouldn't.
gave it to me when I was like 30.
Oh, he did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He goes, maybe this will help you get organized.
There's-
And then one day I go, I should listen to that. And I couldn't find it.
Did you ask him for another one, or were you like, well, the boat
No, I
sailed?
told him, and we just laughed. ADD. Do you have ADD?
I'm sorry, what?
What?
Yes, I do find that that's why I like all the things that I'm working on, because I never am focusing on anything for too long a period of time. I just get to jump around to a bunch of different things. So I like it. I like it that way. It's good.
How was the? Oh, that's fine. How was the food?
We'll see about that.
How was the food? Was it good? Yeah.
Sort of. Thank you. Yeah,
Did
it's
you
pretty
get
good.
dessert? Anyone? Was it good?
You what? Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You only got one bite?
Yeah, my wife's pregnant. I asked a question, I turned around and it was gone.
Where's your wife?
She's right there.
Wait, who's talking? I can't tell. You're sitting behind. Why are you sitting so far away from your wife?
She's right here.
Yeah, somebody got his wife
Oh, she raised her hand.
Yeah.
Oh, there. She's pregnant.
Those guys like to do it, and
She
there's
ate
the
the des-
proof.
She ate the dessert, so she's eating for two.
Yeah, you guys totally
When do you
did
do?
it.
In a week or two? Oh man, your water could break right now. Let's see. Push on.
What
it.
happens
See
if that happens? Are we supposed to get newspapers?
Push on her
and
belly and see if it
hot water?
breaks.
Don't push on her belly, sir.
Why? Why not?
Why do you want to?
I don't mean push hard, but just enough.
No, then she'll start having a baby, and then we'll never get out of here because it will be like.
and then the club will get pressed and we'll sell it out. Push on it.
Why would you sell it? Why would people be like, we got to go to that Lovitz club? Someone gave birth to a baby last week. Who knows what'll happen? There'll be a birth or
I did
a
that
giraffe.
movie,
Who knows?
League of Their Own. We were shooting on a farm, and during the scene, in the barn, there was a cow that was pregnant and it gave birth, and it got in the newspaper and it gave press to the movie.
This used to
So-
be my playground. It used to be my. There's no crying in baseball. There, I've done the whole movie. That was a great movie. That movie holds up too.
Yeah, it was
That movie
good.
fucking way holds up. God damn, Gina Davis was great. You were great. Tom Hanks, fucking great.
Gina Davis, she came in a week before the movie started. Yeah, Deborah Winger was supposed to do it.
Oh, I thought you just meant she was really like on time. Like she
No,
came like a week early.
Deborah Winger was supposed to do it, and then
Gina Davis did it.
then Penny cast Madonna, and then Deborah didn't want to do it with Madonna, so
Well, then she fucking
Penny
missed
said
out,
goodbye.
didn't she?
so Gina Davis had a week to get ready. She'd never played baseball before in her life.
Well, she did great.
I know, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't have done that. Did you push yet?
Yes, sir.
I may have ADD, but I have a good memory. Well, good luck with your baby. Did you know if it's a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Have you had kids before?
Oh.
Oh, your first one.
That means someone's
you
penis
excited?
is already inside your wife. Is that weird?
God.
What? It's a reasonable thought. It's not weird. That was very weird. What was your question?
It was actually more for John.
Yes. You are narcissistic.
Oh, good. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
The last time I spoke to Penny Marshall? A few weeks ago. How was it? It was fine. Oh, what was it like making League of Their Own? Oh, I loved it. Well, first of all, Bob Lou Mandel and Lowell Gans wrote the movie, and they wrote, in Happy Days, they wrote Splash and Parenthood. So Bob Lou, whenever I see, they wrote the part for me, which I didn't know when I read it, but they told me that, and then Bob Lou always goes, "We haven't done that before since," but they wrote the part for me, and I just remember reading it going, "This is so funny.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good movie.
I have to play this." And then I liked it because I like baseball, and then it was like a movie. It was in the 40s, and I like old movies. It was written in that style, so I like that. And then there was lots of women. I like women. And then, and there's a ton of them. And then there was, I had a lot of friends. I was already friends with Penny Marshall and Tom Hanks, and I knew Gina Davis and Madonna when from hosting the show. And even though Madonna was there for 2 weeks and Gina was there for a week, but it's kind of an intense week where you get to know them. And then I met, and Penny's daughter Tracy was in the movie. I was friends with her, and so it was like making a movie with a lot of friends. And Rosie O'Donnell, that was her first movie.
It was?
And she was like she wasn't that well known then. She wasn't really famous then, and she was excited to be there. And we all went to a club in Chicago to see her do stand-up, and then she was on stage and she started imitating me. And she's like, "I can't believe John Lovitz is here at my show," And of course she got, did her talk show, got huge. And
Yeah. The reason why I had to ask is because my roommate is now Penny Marshall's assistant. So she works with her.
Oh.
Every day, so this kind of came up.
What's her name?
Kelsey. Kelsey Morgan. No. She works with her at home, at her place.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelsey, guess what John Lovitz said about Penny Marshall? You're never going to fucking believe.
Penny,
OMFG, we have to talk.
You won't believe it. Penny was hanging. The first host when I did Saturday Night Live was Madonna, and Penny is friends with Lorne Michaels, so she was just hanging out. So Madonna, usually a host is there for a week, but Madonna was there for 2 weeks. The week before the show started, and then that week in. So the first thing that she did, and that I did on the show, was this short film, and we were shooting it in Central Park at like 2 a.m, and then Penny was there, and she befriended me and everything. And then anyway, when the show ended, she goes, "Where are you gonna?" She goes, "What are you doing for the summer?" I'm going back to Los Angeles. So she said, "Where are you gonna live?" I'm like, "I don't know." She goes, "Well, you can stay at my house." And she has this huge house, like a mansion. So I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'll stay there." So I had my own bedroom, and Joe Pesci was there too. She'd have her friends stay.
Did you tell him to go get his fucking shine box? He hates that.
No, but Joe, I think it was after Raging Bull, but then he hadn't been working for a while.
Oh, okay.
So we became friends, and I always tell this story, but he'd go, "Let's play ping pong." So he's very good at ping pong, so he would always beat me. He'd go, "John, let's play ping pong for a slap and a kick." So he'd beat me. He goes, "All right, come here." And he'd kick me in the butt, he'd slap me. And then one game,
That is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. Like, that's like a dream. Like, I had this dream where I was at Penny Marshall's house and I was playing ping pong with Joe Pesci, and then he beat me and he slapped me in the face. Like, that sounds like a weird
Not
dream.
hard.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
come on.
All right.
Yeah, not like
That
really
grounded
slapping
it.
So one game I beat him, right? So he goes, "Okay, take your shot," but he goes, "I'm going to win the next game, and I'm going to knock the fuck out of you." But he's a very nice guy. He's a really good golfer too. Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Penny. She just had she just had her 70th birthday party, but I couldn't go.
And I heard she's getting a present for Joe Pesci too, which is funny for holidays.
She's getting what?
She's getting him a present for Christmas.
Is it a ping pong table? He loves ping pong.
I backed out, went to the driveway and I backed out and I smashed like the back light of like my roommate Kelsey's car. So that's the only experience
Well, maybe we should let everyone go. Oh, okay, there's
Yes?
a question. What is a song that I've written? That's out there? Well, there's stuff on the YouTubes. The song about the numerical value of pi is a song the kids love. We wrote a song about patriotic dinosaurs. We did a song that's all in Spanish called El Corazón, which we wrote because every Latino love song has the word corazón in it. Now that I've said that, you'll start to hear it, and it'll get funnier and funnier every time you hear it.
What does that mean?
It means the heart. And so we wrote a song all in Spanish, but when you translate it into English, it's just medical facts about the heart. So it's like, el corazón es una bomba muscular que mantiene circulación, which basically just means the heart is a muscular pump that regulates the flow of our life's blood. So that was a fun song.
Your Spanish is beautiful.
Gracias. So that, and then we made a video last year with the Swedish chef. There was a meme. There was a big meme online of this girl holding these Goosebumps books, and they went, Gersberm's my favorite barracks. And so this whole language memed from it of Turkin like theirs, because this girl just looked like she talked that way.
What is meme? What does that mean?
Well, a meme is sort of like it's sort of like a cultural. The best way to describe it is like a sort of a cultural phenomenon that will evolve very quickly in a short period of time, and everyone kind of adds something to it and changes it, and you know, that's it basically. So. So this was a thing that was sort of popular, and so we made a video. We made a love song all in this language, and my feeling was that she would have been like the Swedish chef would have been in love with her, and so we sing this song that's Erlen Gersberm Turks or everything Turk like theirs, and then the Swedish chef comes on and does this rap breakdown in the middle of it, and we got Swedish chef to do it, and that was fucking amazing. So that's Gersberms was another song that we did. They're just silly comedy songs. But
Are they on iTunes?
They're on iTunes or YouTube. It's Hard and Firm with a PH, PHIRM. And yeah, so you know, I wouldn't expect too much, but if you like silly nerdy songs, then you will be delighted. And if not, then you should rush to the internet to log your discontent on a forum somewhere in all caps. Yeah. All right.
Gene Pompa, would you like to wrap it up?
He's handed it off to the other Mexican.
Gene Pompa turned in his mic.
Oh, he did. Gene's having
Excuse
a
me,
private meeting up there. We could just end the show by awkwardly walking off stage and not having a real end to the show.
Well,
Is there another show after this?
There is not another show. However, I do have a question for both of you.
I'm going to host
gentlemen.
the after show for this interview.
There you go. Talking John.
Yeah.
Mr. Hardwick, where can these fine folks find you on the interwebs? Is there a one-stop site?
Nerdist.com or Nerdist on Twitter or Nerdist on Instagram or Nerdist on Facebook. It's pretty much, I think you get the idea.
Right.
So I've covered it.
Ironically, you can find out about John on the John Lovitz ComedyClub.com, about the club and shows we have. That's a shameless plug, by the way, but had to be done.
I'd say it's shameful.
Chris, before we go, I want to just see where your podcast is today.
Uh-oh. Where do we rank today? I don't think we're going to be 1. No, I don't know if we're going to be 2 either. Top 10 probably.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I
probably
can't
not 1.
Find it.
I check the rankings about every month
here
or
it
so
is.
just to see, like, okay, all
This
right.
American Life, Bill Maher, NPR, Fresh Air. The hell are you?
If you're doing all podcasts, I'm guessing we're around
Oh,
13.
I'm not. Oh, I'm an idiot.
I'm guessing
I did
13.
All.
I'm guessing 13 of all podcasts.
Lord Jesus.
I'm kind of nervous. what if this is it? Like, what if it's all over at this point? And this is how I find out, like, in front of people. And I don't want to, like, make a scene, so I'll have to pretend like I'm okay with it. But inside, I'm shredded, you know? Like,
Yeah, this is all. This new thing on. I can't find it. This fucking new program.
Now I may have to look.
That was an iOS 7.
iOS 7.
Folks, stay tuned for the next podcast, Fucking Apps with John Lovitz.
Here we are. Today we're 18 of all podcasts. And then
And what about in comedy?
in comedy we are 6. Yeah.
6. That's huge.
Yeah, today we're 6. But because of the ebbs and the flows, like tomorrow we could be 3, and the next day we could be 7, and then that's why I don't really look at the charts, because it doesn't really mean anything. But Welcome to Night Vale is number 1. They do really well.
How many are there in comedy? They only put the top 200, right? And there's more than that.
I don't know. Yeah, no, there's a lot more than 200. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
You're 3. That's great. I said you're always in the top 10.
You know how you were asking what a meme was? Do you know there's John Lovitz memes?
I don't even know what you mean by that.
John Lovitz meme. Do you want to read it? Read it for us?
All right.
Your face.
What is it? It's like me speak.
It's you with a funny saying and just a typical meme. Here, read it for us.
I never heard of it.
Classic John Lovitz voice.
Oh, well, I guess that would be my voice.
That is the classic one.
Oh, soon this post will be forgotten, and I will be reaping the benefits.
That's it. That's a meme.
That's
Dude,
a meme?
that is the best Lovitz I've ever heard. This dude's amazing.
Well, so a meme is just what?
We use them to send back and forth to each other to like say little funny things. I don't know. How do you describe what a meme is?
This just seems dumb to me.
It's
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of John Lovitz memes.
Oh, what the fuck? There is. I don't even know what a meme is. There's all.
You're not getting your phone back now.
There's naked pictures of my pregnant wife on there. I hope you didn't.
Oh, I've got some. Come on, guys. We're all having fun. We're all having fun. That's what I was talking about. I blatantly
Naked-
insulted this man, but he knows
What
that
do you
I
mean there's
don't mean
naked
it.
Pictures of your wife.
Don't start sifting through his photo album.
I'm looking at the memes. That looks like a.
There's an app called SMS Rage Faces. Get that. That has like every meme in the world.
Yeah.
You're using my photos!
Well, you handed me your phone. Where's the one of your? Yeesh. No, I didn't see it. I didn't find it. I still don't get what a meme is. It's just like if you go hello, Chris, and then the meme would be, well, hello, Chris.
You want to know the best way to describe it as a comic? It's basically just a massive cultural yes-anding. Okay, so
Yes ending?
like yes and. It's like a yes and game, right? So it's like it evolves the way that comics
so
backstage.
out of it. I don't know what.
I would say a premise, and then you would add to the premise, and I would add to the premise, and you would add to the premise, and I would add to the premise, and by the end, it would have evolved into this whole crazy bit. That's essentially what a meme is, using comedy
Let's
talk.
do one. You mean like? Well, that's just like that thing. You say a sentence, and then someone else says a sentence, and you make a story.
Kind of like it basically just evolves. It's like it's like a crowdsourced cultural touch point. I don't.
Just make a bogus slogan. Yeah.
Always pump your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, you start then. I don't know what it is.
Sometimes pump your neighbor. What did you say?
Never pump your neighbor.
Always pumpa your neighbor. See, so I added Gene. So I would take that. That's how I would meme that. Is I would basically, you would say always pump your neighbor, and you would have an image of like a friendly neighbor, and then I would put Gene Pumpa's face on one of the neighbors and be like, always pumpa your neighbor.
My dog is Pampa on my leg.
Yeah, exactly. And then you would put a picture of Gene's face. So then we've created the Pumpa meme, and so then it would be like fill her up on Pumpa 2, and then it'd be like a gas thing with Gene's face on it. Or it'd be
I
like,
don't
hey,
like
this guy's
your
got
pomposity.
this guy's got good genes, and then it would be a bag of Gene's faces. So it's just like that.
Genie.
We're going to murder you. Yeah, so that's basically what that would be. It's just basically just layering jokes on
So
things.
it's just a waste of fucking time.
I guess I could have led with that. I think I have to go because my girlfriend's home and I'm not.
Well, before we end, do you have a picture of her?
Yeah, I have a picture of my girlfriend. Let's see.
Well, that's weird. Your
I don't have any
girlfriend
dirty-
Looks like Todd Glass.
I don't have any dirty pictures of my girlfriend.
Well, I don't want to see
Sorry.
that.
Where
Gene
is,
does, but I don't.
where is she? There she is, but you can't really see her that well there. Here, I'll pull a picture of her. Is this still you streaming? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Somebody will watch this and go, look what he said.
There she is. There's a picture of her.
Ew. Wait a minute. I was looking you up and I saw a picture of you in this group. What's her name?
Chloe.
She's very pretty.
She certainly is.
Red
And
hair.
right now, she's pretty and alone.
And what is her, what does she do?
She does like game reviews and she does cosplay. She builds costumes and, hosts things and
Nice.
occasionally lets me put things in her
Nice.
that are attached to me.
Nice lips. Well, I am very...
She dresses up in cosplay for everyone, yes, but
How old is she?
What? She's 25.
What's her character?
She does a lot of different characters, so she just makes a lot of different costumes. It's
very
one
sexy.
time she did Lydia from Beetlejuice. One time she did something from Skyrim. She's done stuff from Red Dead Redemption. She's a big video gamer, so she does the stuff from video games.
She's not an actress?
She doesn't really act much. No,
She's prettier than that. She's beautiful.
we're getting both because we're spoiled nerds.
Jesus, if this girl is waiting at home for me, I wouldn't be on this stage. Oh, yeah. Nice lips. Oh, yeah. Oh, you can't see this. Sorry.
Well, it's on the internet. You can look it up.
Is her hair dyed red or is there an
Yeah, she dyed it like she dyed it red.
How'd you meet?
Thank you. At a Doctor Who convention. Shut up. All of time.
Do you
and
make
space.
time for her because even though you're so
Not
busy?
now. No, I'm not making time for her.
No, I know right now you're not.
We spend a lot of time together, and when I travel, like I just did a bunch of shows on the road, and she came with me for a bunch of the dates.
Oh, that's nice.
So, yeah, I mean, it's we spend every minute I'm not working, I'm usually with her.
Have you guys French kissed?
No, we're not married.
And you get
I
along
wouldn't want to
good?
incur the wrath of the Lord. What?
You get along well?
Yeah, but we also, we have dumb fights like any couple, and they're usually about nothing. The worst fights are usually about nothing.
Do you do anything different now in your in your relationship with her to make it better than say in the past? Like you learned, I don't do this anymore, or or I learned to not be this way, or
Yeah, I feel like I've learned from other relationships, but I also see the same mistakes repeating over and over again too. So, but nothing bad. I mean, nothing really bad.
like
I'm pretty-
she says, I said not in the butt. And
Right.
You're like, oh, I thought you said yes in the butt.
I'm sorry,
Like
I
that?
heard the opposite of what you actually said. By the way, if you were able to sneak it into someone's butt, they would not be so casual as I said not in the butt. You would get kicked
She
in the
said it
dick
like me?
like a horse.
She sounded like me.
Yep.
I said not in the butt.
Well,
and you
I-
went, oh, it's opposite day.
Well, when we're making love, dog style, I do put a mask of your face in the back of her head. I don't.
And who's the mask of?
It's of you. It's of you, and I'm like, "Hi, John."
Hello. Do it like this. I said not in the butt.
And then she comes. Then she finishes, and I go, "Oh, did you just come?" And she goes, "Acting." That's a thing.
Oh, I used to do that.
I used to do that. Oh, right.
One last question.
Yes, Gene? Why isn't she here? You didn't invite her?
She had something else. She had something else to do tonight, so she went off and did that, and I came here.
How long have you been going out?
2 years, a little over 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, sir.
Since she's 23?
Technically, she was 22 when we started dating.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
And you're 41?
It doesn't matter how old I am, John. Age is a relative
No, I think it's great.
term. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, when you really look at the age of the universe and space-time, and it's inconsequential. If two people happen to be 17 Earth years apart. I mean, it doesn't. It'd be a different number on another planet. So who fucking cares?
No, I think it's terrific.
I should calculate our differences in age on all the different planets, just to sort of see if I feel any weirder about.
Did this ever happen where you're in bed with her and all of a sudden she goes, no, not there? Did that ever happen?
Yeah, she was talking about the dog. Not the dog.
Dog?
The dog does. She has this little Chihuahua, and sometimes I don't realize he's there because Chihuahuas are like burrowers. So he'll burrow under the covers in between us, and I'll go reach over and then just like grab dog.
Or you're like, oh, this feels so good. I thought you shaved. What happened?
And then you know what happens? And then that fucking dog goes on your dog's podcast and spills his guts about it.
Or did you were like
That was a
kissing her?
callback. That was a callback from 4 hours ago.
You were kissing her and you're in bed with her and you're like, oh yeah, your vagina has teeth. Ouch. Did that ever happen?
I only just found that out. Yeah, we've been together for like 2.5 years.
Did that ever happen?
Yes, vagina dentata.
God.
Sorry.
Pulling teeth getting answers out of you.
It's like
you
pulling.
ever in-
It's like pulling vagina teeth to get answers out of you.
Did you make her dye her hair red so she would appear to be a different girl? So
Yeah,
you
I
wouldn't get
made her
bored?
dye her hair. I hired a couple of thug henchmen and we pinned her down and dyed her hair a luscious color.
This sucks. We're finally getting into the good stuff and the show's over. When she dyed her hair red, did you go, yeah, I'm going to call you Red?
No, I missed
No?
a golden opportunity to drop that on her. I didn't do it. God damn it.
Well, when she dyed her hair red, did you go, oh, that looks great, or keep it that way, or change it back? I don't like you now.
No. I do the fun thing that's just like stupid dad jokes like, what? Where did my girlfriend go? Who is this young woman? Which is just not sexy at all. And then I made her do chores and sent her to her room. I'm 17 years older than she is. But we met and hit it off because we like a lot of the same things, which is
Doctor Who.
We love Doctor Who, video games, sci-fi stuff. We like having sex with her. But in general, we have a lot of the same interests. We like a lot of the same things.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Not judging you, Chris.
Why are you judging me? You're not the judge of me.
I'm not. She's very pretty.
You're not the king of me. I'm the king of me. Boogie Nights. I'm the king of me, Jack. I decide when I fuck Jack. You're not the king of me.
Were you ever in bed with her and you're like, hey,
Sometimes.
what's that up your nose? She goes, what? It's me. Yeah. And she's like, no, stop it.
Have I ever?
Did that ever happen?
Have I ever like we're bros, been fuck you and jam my finger in her nose, blah, like that?
I wasn't thinking of your finger.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't. Because
Was she ever- this is a real
I'm very graciously endowed, and it would rip through her like Frank's septum.
Was she ever sleep? You woke up in the middle of the night, she's sleeping, and she fell asleep before you had sex, and you wake up and she's there, and you're really horny, but she's sleeping, and you're like, if I'm gentle, maybe she won't wake up. And then you had sex with her while she was sleeping.
No,
That never happened?
I don't know if anyone appreciates a stealth fucking. I've never done that. I've never done
But now
that.
that I've mentioned it, would it be a possibility?
Yeah, and I'll do it, and then I'll be like, Lovitz said I should do this. And then she'll be like, you mean John? And then turn around. And then there's your...
Did anyone have any questions about Chris's sex life with his
Good luck with your birth. Good luck with your birth. Thank you. Good luck with your septum.
Thank you.
Good luck with
Anyone
your
have
septum.
any personal questions about Chris's sex life?
That's your ride? Oh shit. Bye, you guys. Well, they're not fast. She's super pregnant. You can catch up to them. How far are they gonna get, really? She might be going into labor by the escalator. You'll be fine. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for coming to the club.
Now I really do have to go because I have to pee so bad.
Just 40 more minutes. Did you ever? All right.
Guys, we're at the
that's our
halfway
show.
point now. We're at the halfway
How
point.
about a hand for Chris Hardwick,
Thanks, you
everybody.
guys.
Thanks for staying. Hope you had a good
night.
time.
If you stuck around on Ustream, you have got some serious constitution, my friend. I give you points.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Lovitz or Leavitz. I believe we have bled into about 3 different colors on Chris's calendar. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. The lady's going into labor. We entered her 3rd trimester with this show. But thanks for coming out to the Lovitz and experiencing Lovitz or Leavitz live this week with Chris Hardwick, the Nerdist. Great job, Chris.